Hi, with Julian. I shouldn't laugh. And a serious piece about the shooting of Donald Trump this morning. I was going to do a different piece on Joe Biden, but events have taken over, and a couple of hours ago, somebody who looks apparently vaguely like Timothy Chalamet for some reason, I've seen the pictures, took a number of shots at Donald Trump at a rally in Pennsylvania. So far, we believe that the shooter was killed, which I've seen pictures of, and also that one of the people in the crowd was killed, and that maybe a couple of others, up to 3 others, have been shot, and at least one of those people in the crowd died. I haven't seen, at this stage, it's unclear whether the person in the crowd was shot by the Secret Service or by the would-be assassin Day of the Jackal type killer. And Trump is in hospital again. At this stage, it looks like that he was hit in the ear and by glass is the latest that I've heard. So some people have said he was hit by glass and not a bullet, but the latest seems to suggest that both. I'll say this is the first shooting that the populist right haven't said was crisis actors, and it obviously wasn't, as none of the other ones were. So he has these rallies, and someone sat on a roof outside of this venue and has shot off multiple rounds with an AR-15 style weapon, and depending on who you believe, came very close to saving the Western world, but who can say? Now, the first observation, and these are just my thoughts, and really the only thing to go through in the news now is who the shooter was, even though the populist right announced that it was their favourite member of Antifa within about 20 seconds of it happening, and that person wasn't clearly the guy. That's the only real news left to come out, but a lot of people jumped on the bandwagon that this is, going to have a massive impact on the election. None of these things will. The debate doesn't, but it will in the next piece I do on Biden in a different way. The people that support Trump 100% already, and the people that hate Trump 100% already. If you think that this is going to turn a single vote towards Trump, if it had happened to Biden, do you think a single Trump voter would have actually turned their vote to Biden? Of course not. It's garbage. It's not going to have any impact on the election. It could, however, be the harbinger of further attacks, which, unfortunately, I'm going to say I believe will happen. The most egregious element of this, other than at least one person dying, and that's about it, is the way that this is symbolic of how the media in America and the Democratic Party in America have treated the Trump era as business as usual. Business as usual ended 8 years ago. The New York Times are clamoring on about how whatever you think of Trump, this is so bad. You're clinging to a mindset that isn't dealing with a completely shifted paradigm on what reality is versus what polite normal society was before the Trump era. I'm just amazed it's taken this long. These people in the Dems and in the media have been, other than the right-wing populist news media, they've been sleepwalking into fascism and civil war for years now, and we've been trying to tell them what's coming. It's matter of fact to discuss how it's likely, whichever way around the election goes in November, that there will be some form of civil war. It may even kick off before then. In fact, I do believe that there will be retaliatory attacks from the other side. It's worth pointing out that virtually all of the previous attacks were from the right against left-wing targets. The numerous events that have happened, every time they pull up a mass shooter, they've got a manifesto, and it's never really been leftists. It's been white supremacists or very right-wing people that have done these shootings in the past. This time around, it wasn't, in all likelihood. This isn't something that ignited today. This is something that goes back a long way over the last 2 decades. This kind of poisonous rhetoric and divisiveness has been brewing for a long time. From the Trump angle, we can go back to the early Trump rallies where protesters were beaten, where, there's Nazis marching on the streets of Charlottesville chanting anti-Jewish slogans, and people in rallies being run down by vehicles or shot with impunity, it turns out, like Carl Rittenhouse gunning down 2 people. And then leading all the way up to the January 6th insurrection attempt on the Capitol in America. You have to be blind not to notice the pattern here. And that's what I don't get about America. Why have they allowed this to happen? Why have you got somebody running for government of the most powerful nation on earth that is so up to his neck in criminal investigations and even insurrection? It's like they don't even see. And I've complained bitterly about the Democrats only having one single tactic when it comes to dealing with Donald Trump, and that is fear of Donald Trump. So they've put the geriatric Joe Biden up twice on the hope of the fear of Donald Trump being enough. And I don't think this shooting's going to change anything at all. They act in the media and in the Dems like this isn't already happening. On the populist right, they act like their own kind haven't been shooting people a lot lately. But it actually goes back further. This poisoning of the rhetoric, the extremism of the Republican Party began in the early 2000s through Fox News. They engendered the Tea Party movement, and it's all spiraled out of that. Trump was a inevitable outgrow of something that was already happening. There were shootings even back then of political people. A Democrat got shot in the head 6 times back then. The poisoning of the political rhetoric and the divisiveness and polarization of American politics and the extremism of the Republican Party has led to the paradigm we're in now. So I guess, the brave thing is, do I support what happened? Because that would be, treason. Well, not for me, I'm not an American citizen, but it would probably be illegal. I would only say this. If you put me in Germany in 1930, would I have supported... I don't support the death penalty, and I also support normal political discourse, which we don't have now. It's been so corrupted and so perverted that it's laughable to suggest that that's what we have. But if you put me in the 1930s in Germany, would I have supported somebody taking out Hitler? Yes. I think that it would have been... There was such a cult of personality around Hitler, and the people that supported Hitler had thrown their weight so far behind him that the immeasurable benefit on humankind and the prevailing 15 years would have been so immense and unusually worth it that I would have supported somebody taking out Hitler. So that's my answer to that question. There are very real parallels, by the way, between what's happening in this current paradigm. Sympathy for Trump, zero. I mean, he's a guy that came out and mocked Nancy Pelosi's husband being attacked, and his supporters would have mocked Biden being attacked today, so sorry, but get lost. The political discourse and the erosion of respect for other people's safety and lives has come from the right, and it's been relentless. And if it had been Biden today, none of these Trump supporters would have cared. They would have been screaming false flag. They would have been screaming that the government had done it to make, in some Bob Roberts, Ronald Reagan way, Biden more popular. I've got support for the victims. I think there's going to be further attacks now. I think it's open season. I think it was always going to happen. I'm amazed that it took so long to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if it is someone like an Antifa member at this stage. I think the people in America now that are opposed to, the fascist takeover of their government, when the writing's on the wall, are going to do desperate things, and I can very much imagine the next attacks being on Biden's side. And I can see riots breaking out in the not too distant future. I thought that it might wait until the November period, where whatever the result is, it would lead to an virtual mini civil war in the country. But I'm just disgusted that the Democrats and that entire side of media and politics have had such a run up to this and done nothing apart from use fear of Trump. One of the reasons is the media makes so much money out of Trump. You can go back to that Michael Moore documentary on the first Trump election, and there's the head of, I think it was CBS, saying, we know that Trump's really, really bad for our country, but we're making record profits. This is a bad paradigm to be in, and, I still don't know who's going to win in November. And that's quite an incredible thing, that somebody with so much hanging over them, who apparently has the Supreme Court in his back pocket, is even allowed to stand. And that the New York Times and Biden and everyone is still maintaining that it's business as usual and politeness should reign. You're missing out on what's happening.